members were not able to join us, but we are joined by several of our general board members. Sally Fisher is on the line. Maria Luna is also here to join us. Mary Anderson is here also from the community board. Outside of the community board, we have a representative from the 33rd Precinct, Captain Charlie Bello is on the line to give us an update on the 33rd Precinct and answer questions. We also have a representative from Manhattan Borough President's Office, Natalie Espino, and we have someone from Senator Robert Jackson's office, Chris Nickel, on the line with us as well. So if I have missed you, please make yourself known. If you are from an official office or capacity, you can let me know in the chat box and we'll add you over to the panelist list. But without further ado, I think we'll just dive right in with our update from Captain Bello.
Hey, how are you, everyone? It's Charlie Bello, commanding officer of the 33rd Precinct. So I know this past weekend there was a lot of turmoil in regards to Manhattan North. We had a considerable spike in shootings. Fortunately for the 33 Precinct, it's not something that we experienced. The last shooting we took was back on June 15th on 172 in Audubon. This past weekend, we actually made an apprehension of the individual that committed that act. We're spiking like throughout the city when it comes to robberies and burglaries, particularly burglaries. It's not really a commercial related burglary issue. It's relating to package thefts. I mentioned it in previous meeting. When it comes to it, we normally we'll take the report as a petty larceny. Once we're able to establish the identity of the individual that committed the offense, we'll up that crime to burglary. I know there are several questions that were sent out to me. I don't know if you want to go through each one by one so I could answer it.
Yeah, I think we can. Just for the record, I did send a few questions in advance just so Captain Bello could give it more thought and find data points for us. But yes, if you can maybe just go one by one, we can tackle it that way. So the first question, let me just pull them up, was about just data. There's been a lot of talk, obviously, around the city on the impact of bail reform and also the impact of releasing people from Rikers Island early. I think I also watched the press conference from the I think the chief, NYPD chief this past week, and I just had questions about the data and want to see if we had any patterns or trends in our area. If there have been people who have been rearrested that were part of the population or demographics that were released, just to get a better understanding of some of those variables that was discussed earlier. So we can start there.
Yeah, so pertaining to the 33, there were 11 releasees. 6 of those were either arrested or currently were seeking for apprehension. From out of those 6, we have 3 current active patterns. 2 of them are burglary related. The other one is a robbery related. So a little bit over 50% of the individuals that were released that reside in the 33 were rearrested for major crimes, particularly burglaries and robberies.
Okay, so you didn't have any information about them being released prior to them re-entering their community, re-entering our community, right? So I guess, once they were arrested, you discovered they were part of this group that were released?
So you mean if there was a list that was sent out prior to them being released?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
yes.
So I know we got communication from either the DA's office or crime control strategy within the New York City Police Department, letting us know that there was individuals that were getting pre-released because of COVID. The 2 individuals that we got didn't commit any offense. One of them was federally indicted for a narco case back in 2000. The other individual was actually in the process of being going to trial for a shooting that occurred this past year around September, October on 177 in Audubon. The remaining individuals that we got was a list that was released by the NYPD internally.
Okay. All right. Before we move on, are there any questions from our board members about this particular topic? All right. So the next question I sent over was.
Question.
Yes.
As you go through the data, is there a way, since you're Manhattan North, that you can speak to what the results were in the 34th, since they're not bothering to show up at our meetings? Or does it have to be limited to 33?
If you have any information about the 34th, yes, please feel free to share, or Manhattan North in general. I know there were more incidences over in the entire demographical area, than not just the 33rd. So, do you have any data or any information you can share with us about just 34th in general?
Yeah, the information that I got, or the list that I got or that I gathered was kind of like a massive list. It wasn't broken down in terms of precinct. It was broken down in terms of Manhattan North. We were able to identify some of the individuals that reside in the 3-3. We ran them just to see if they reoffended after being pre-released. So I didn't run that data or that analysis for the 3-4 or for Manhattan North entirely. I believe it was about 300 plus individuals that were released that reside in Manhattan North alone.
Okay. So that's pretty much a majority of them, right? Because I think it was like around 275 or maybe somewhere around there that were released altogether.
Right.
I believe so.
All right. Yeah, the information. So we got COVID pre-release individuals, and then we also have individuals that were released due to bail reforms.
Okay. That were arrested and that were not sent to Rikers Island or a facility after being arrested.
That were in Rikers already, and they were released early due to bail reforms being implemented or taking effect January 1st.
Okay.
So that was a much bigger list than the COVID list.
Okay. Are there any other questions about this information? All right. So the next question I had was about just, we've also been hearing, and before I move on, I really want to just thank you, Captain Bello, because, you're always present. You're always responsive. When I call you, you answer. And it's unfortunate that we don't have representatives here from the 34th precinct, because I know there are probably more issues in that precinct that we need to hear from. And we have a lot more concerns, there than we do in the 33rd. So I just want to just take that time to just give you my deepest appreciation and respect for all the hard work that you're doing. I know we don't always agree on these issues, but we have a great, mutual understanding and respect on how to at least share information with each other. So thank you very much. The second question, no problem at all. So the second question was about, we know that there's been increases in gun and shootings all around the city. Thankfully, we have not had those situations occur in the 33rd, other than the one that was, I think, June 15th you mentioned before. So my question I sent to Captain Bello was, how many active gun investigations do we have in our area? Are these cases involving people with prior gun-related charges or gang-related activity? Because I did notice that many of the cases involve people who had prior gang-related activity or cases or other priors that were pretty, serious offenses. So I was just trying to get a better understanding of if there are any active, sort of things going on that we should know about as we enter the summer months. Anything could happen. So I want to just get an idea of what was happening on the ground.
Yeah, so normally gun investigations are handled by firearm investigations. When we get information that there's an individual that might be in possession of a firearm, what we do is we utilize the victim or a confidential informant, take them to the district attorney's office and try to execute a search warrant as soon as possible. If we get intel that there might be an individual that might be possibly selling firearms, we disseminate that information to firearm investigation, and they start their own investigation when it comes to that. Last year, they had a takedown. They arrested about 12 to 15 individuals that were selling firearms in the vicinity of 160 and Broadway. One of the individuals that were implicated in that case was actually one of the perpetrators to our 166th Street and Amsterdam Avenue homicide, Christopher Francisco. So investigations that are open, we really do not leave it open. We'll disseminate that information to firearm investigation. I don't have that. We don't have any pending or open case when it comes to that. If we do get information that somebody might be in possession, we try to execute or obtain the search warrant right away or immediately.
Okay. Do you have any concerns moving into the summer months? Well, now we're in the summer already, but do you have any concerns, or is there anything that, any information that you want to get out to the larger audience and people who are listening about what's happening in our community?
Yeah, definitely. Normally what we do is when we get these complaints, like recently we got a complaint in the vicinity of 171 and Audubon Avenue in regards to an individual that was threatening people due to firework related reasons. Usually I defer that to my FIO, try to see if we got any CIs or complaining that is willing to cooperate and try to get a search warrant in regards to that. We took a shots fire, I want to say a couple of months ago on 167 in Amsterdam, between Amsterdam and Audubon. The individual that we believe is the shooter is currently part of an active firearm investigation, but that investigation is taking place in Brooklyn. We're trying to ascertain when that takedown is going to happen because we don't want to interfere with our case with the case that they currently have open because I believe it's going federal. So those are the only things that we have pending. So if you do have information or you see something, by all means, feel free to share. But normally when it comes from our end, from a precinct function or perspective, we try to execute the search warrant as soon as possible. If we do get information that we can take care of right away, then we'll relay that information to firearm investigation and they'll open up a case in regards.
Okay, great to know. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board members about this particular topic?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, okay, please pose your question. I heard a yes, but I don't hear a question.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention a few complaints that we've gotten from some of the residents from that live in the 33rd precinct,
Okay.
especially in 161st Street. And I was gonna take the opportunity, but I don't have all the details. Ebenezer, would you please go down the list? Because maybe it can help the discussion about future plans or what the police person is doing.
Are these the issues that were sent to the email?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Eleazar. Yes, we received several complaints from the district, from all over the district, yes, specifically for 161st Street. People making a lot of noise, especially over the weekend. Is in front of two apartment buildings, 165 and 605 and 607 on West 161st Street. People calling there, calling the office, saying that people are blasting music from cars during the weekend, and it happens every weekend. For the same cars, they also gave me the license plates of one of the vehicles. They said that they cannot sleep because they started this party, what they call party, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and is 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're there. They said they called the police, but the police go there. When the police go, they stop the music. But when the police leave, again, the music start and the party continue. A lot of leaders, and another complaints also I received in the 34th precinct is on Chittenden Avenue. The residents there, for the last 2 months, they have been calling the office saying that the loud music playing, a lot of hookah and pot smoking, and a lot of leaders is left behind, and people hanging out there daily, but especially on the weekends. And these residents also complain that they can at night. Another complaints that from the area of Seaman Avenue and Dykeman, people around there complaining about the double parking, not only on Seaman and Dykeman that happened on the weekend, but on 204, 207 Street. And the noise complaint and the fireworks complaints, have been the call of, I would say, every day to the office from one different portion of the district, and 33rd precinct, 34th precinct, east, west, all kind of residents, are calling the office, reporting these kind of complaints. Basically, Eleazar, this is what I have. I don't know if you're still having some more complaints that you would like to report.
Yeah, there was a fire. I'm sure that on the news, because I'm sorry that I joined in late, and my apologies, Curtis, about the fire on Academy and Nagel. Did you guys talk about that already?
We haven't gotten to that. We're still.
Oh, sorry.
We're still getting
Okay.
updates from the precinct, but we're going to get to the fire. If you give us a second.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Great.
So, thank you. So yes, I did receive some of those emails that you forwarded from people at 161st Street, 163rd Street, involving the issues of music and other issues as well. I believe Captain Bello and I did coordinate on one of those cases, one of those situations. I won't mention the person's name, but they have made a complaint in that particular area with the same issues that you just mentioned. I'm not sure if that person is on the line. I don't want to put them out. I don't know, say their name, but do you have? I mean, it's the last few weeks has been insane all over the district. The 34th, 33rd, we received complaints about music everywhere. I think I don't know what the best solution is moving forward. Is it best to continue to file 311 complaints, to make 911 complaints? I would love to get some clarity on from the precinct captain on what you think the best solution is to resolve some of those issues, those quality of life issues.
Well, yeah, we want to get some clarity as well when it comes to quality of life complaints, because the issue becomes if we do respond, they obviously lower the volume or they turn off their speakers. Once we leave, they turn them back on. If we do see a car that is blasting, does the community want us to take some type of enforcement? What happens if we do try to take some type of enforcement, the person doesn't want to produce their ID? Now we can issue them a summons because we don't have a person that's identified. Now, what if they start resisting arrest? What if we have to take now physical force? What if the person gets hurt in the process? So the question that we got to ask ourselves is, how do you, the community, want us to tackle those quality of life issues? Because even when we do make an apprehension for those quality of life related offenses, sometimes it doesn't even get prosecuted by the district attorney's office. Not trying to pass blame, but the question becomes, it's not as simple as people make it out to be. What happens with these quality related offenses when somebody does not want to hand over their ID or does not want to, be placed under arrest, and now we have to physically force someone to be, I guess, apprehended or make a forcible apprehension. So that's kind of like one of the things that we're trying to find out, how the community wants us to be policed. If you guys call 311, call 911, we'll definitely respond. By the time that we respond, when it comes to these noise complaints, they just lower the music. We speak to them and we tell them, like, listen, we're getting complaints. Can you just lower the music? Or, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I think it's a little unfair for people that have to go to work to have to listen to this music that's so loud. But the question becomes, what happens if we just keep responding? What does the community want us to do? Do they want enforcement? And if the enforcement is resisted, what's the, I guess, plausible solution or action that you guys want us to take? And those are one of the things that is being hashed out. But when it comes to quality enforcement right now, we're sort of taking a little hands-off approach, more like an education and warning. We're trying to avoid with the enforcement, considering with the latest bills that had been passed in the city council. Because like I said, we've seen it in the past. Anything that comes with minor infractions, 90% of the time when somebody is either under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they're gonna actively resist. And when you have to effect those type of arrests, it tends to get ugly. So I'm not sure if that's what the general public wants, but obviously we're gonna have to come up with some type of solution.
Yeah. I agree. I did hear the same sort of, comments from the press conference that was delivered downtown from the police chief, with issues involving the diaphragm bill. And, I have my own personal opinion. I don't want to share too much of my personal beliefs here. But I do think that we have to find a solution to, handling quality of life issues. And it does not have to escalate to a physical altercation. And I know I hear what you're saying. It's difficult when people are drinking, they're under the influence. It can easily go from A to Z in a matter of seconds. So I know it has to continue to be an ongoing conversation to figure out what the best solutions are. I don't think anyone has the answer right now, but we can't think of the solution always being, we need to be able to find a way to use force. Like, is there a way are there other alternatives to interacting with people who are repeat offenders for, noise complaints and drugs on the streets without it resulting in some sort of physical situation? That's an unknown. So.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hope everyone's having a good summer. I just wanted to jump in here. I have a couple of questions just about how the agenda is structured. But I first want to speak on this matter that we're talking about right now. I'm wondering and is that Commander Bello, Captain Bello, I think, who I've met before. What are you asking the community board right now? You're asking us for our guidance in how you should be doing policing, or because I'm a little confused at the question that you're saying. How would you like us to police that it can result in resisting arrest? People are drunk and their behaviors are et cetera and et cetera. But I would assume that there are measures in place for what the training says should be done and what appropriate escalation is. Is there not?
There is, but it doesn't have a definitive.
The question is not to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm asking you the question. I would like to hear what your answer is.
Right. So there is training and proper protocols, but there's no definitive solution when you encounter these type of situations. I could tell you what I want the outcome to be. I would love to be able to make an apprehension whether the person thinks that they should be arrested or not without them resisting. And I believe in the majority of the incidents that we see when we have these police-related, issues comes from people actively resisting. What happens is when you got an individual that is calling 311 or 911, and police respond and they turn down the music, and now we go again, and now they try to kind of like resist or fight. We know what we could do, but am I going to put my officers at risk to doing something that might get them either fired or arrested? It's tough to say, especially when it comes with this diaphragm law. So, it's not that we're seeking guidance. What we're seeking is a response to how do you guys, how does the community want to be policed? Do you guys want the enforcement when it comes to these quality of life complaints? Because obviously when we respond and we tell people to lower down the music, they clearly do not do it, or when they do it, and then once we leave, they turn it back on. So in that type of situation, how can we fix it, at least for that particular night? Is it making an arrest? Is it taking the speaker? Is it issuing a summons? And if we do take that step, we really do not know what the final outcome is going to be if the person actively resists. And that's kind of like where we're at, whether that's what people want us to do and unfortunately end up in a situation where on video it looks horrible because we got to make an arrest on somebody that's fighting us. And now it's more the topic becomes, look at the extent of the violence that was utilized on that other particular individual just for a simple noise complaint. So that's kind of like where we're at when it comes to these quality of life related offenses.
Thank you very much, Captain Bello. Aisha, give me 1 second. I want to. Is this a follow up to your previous question, or you're making a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to understand if it is a noise complaint, why are we talking about an arrest? Unless, it seems like we're making an assumption of a trajectory, and of course you do the job and I don't.
It's not an actual assumption. If you look at my top 311 or 911 calls, they stem from noise complaints because we're there multiple times. Any 311 call that somebody plays, we normally try to get there before, at least our time frame is 45 minutes. We could go to a particular location 5, 10, 15 times. I've gone to locations that, residents of the... I'm sorry?
Can't you issue a summons for a noise complaint?
And that's the issue. What happens when now we try to issue that summons, the person has no ID or the person actively resists? Is it worth the physical altercation or the physical fight? So this is what I kind of propose. What I propose to individuals is just, try to take a ride in the 3-3 and 3-4 around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, Saturday night, so you could see some of the issues. And we understand it's legitimate gripe, but the question becomes, is that reasonable to be solved through enforcement? And any enforcement that you could attempt to take, whether it's a summons or an arrest, could lead to something even worse. So the question becomes, Is it worth it? Is it worth it me to try to issue a summons? Now the person fights. Now the person gets hurt, or the cop gets hurt. Now the case gets declined to prosecute because it's a minor offense. Is that what the community wants? I'm not saying that every time that we respond to these particular situations, that's exactly what's going to happen. But there's the potential that that might happen. Is the potential worth it?
Thank you very much, Captain Bello and Aisha, for your question. I'm going to move on because we have a few more hands raised. So
Really
just to
quick-
respond to you had a question about the format, Aisha. So generally we would have an update from the precinct captains. So Captain Bello gave an update for the 3-3, and then now we're in follow-up questions for the 3-3. The
So the only
34th
other
did
thing I
join.
wanted to ask is, in regards to the recidivism of seemingly, and I came in a few minutes late, so I may have missed the fullness of it. But
Mhm.
seemingly those that have been released due to COVID, were those people that received advocacy for their release due to COVID, and then we're looking at 50% recidivism? Or were there people that were simply released because that was what was happening in their case? That was the status of their case at the time. And is there a place that we can get more clarity of exactly what those details are, not only in the past, but going forward as well? And also, is this information solely from the precinct, or are we also getting data from the district attorney's office?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Charlie Bello. We got disconnected in the middle of it, so I only got the last question about data from the district attorney's office or precinct. I'm not sure what data you were referring to.
Well, I was really posing the question to the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is data that so what I did was I sent Captain Bello questions in advance of the meeting so he can provide information that pertain to our particular area. So the data that which he was sharing about recidivism and the numbers from COVID releases were numbers that were pertaining to our particular area.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, so I would like to go maybe take two more questions. We have two hands raised, Sally and then Natalie, and then I'll go to the 34th precinct. Lieutenant Joan, if you're there, I believe you're there. Your text me said you were there. So we'll take Sally first and then Natalie afterwards.
I guess one of the things that has come up with response to any sort of complaint in the 34th is that it's closed out almost as soon as it's put in. So there's obviously been no response. I mean, people will put in whatever the issue is, fireworks, noise, etc. But the complaint is not investigated. They're just closed out. So it does not appear, at least from what I'm hearing, because I'm not someone who makes 311 calls and complaints, but that's an issue. I wanted to say that I'm really happy to hear what you just said, because I think that given the situation and given how things can escalate, I'd like the focus being on how we as a community want to be policed. What are the alternatives? And I think that that's a serious discussion that has to be had. So I'm glad that you put it out there. I did have one question in terms of if you cut off the supply, do you solve the problem? So let's say there's people blasting speakers. Can you just take the speakers, or the escalation risk the same? And particularly my concern is with fireworks. Given that fireworks are illegal, I know that de Blasio says cut off the supply chain at the guy that's selling it to the guys that are shooting it off. But if police show up and someone has a arsenal, in the park, they're shooting it off, rather than arrest the person that's shooting it off, aren't y'all allowed to just seize the supply because they are illegal?
So the New York City Police Department and the mayor's office, they created a task force, and they were making a lot of apprehensions when it comes to fireworks related, I guess, incidents, if you want to call it that. I know they made a few and they processed a few in the 33rd precinct. When it comes to our precinct local plan, what I did was specifically for July 4th is, I had a 1 in 8, 1 supervisor and 8 cops. I positioned them and I stationed them on 171 Audubon to Amsterdam, 172 Audubon to St. Nick, 174 Street between Audubon and Amsterdam, and 162, where I was getting a lot of complaints, to 163 in St. Nicholas Avenue. I also have my NCOs perform a 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning tour. I performed a 4 p.m. to 2 in the morning tour, and then we also had the overtime module that overlapped their tours. So we created and we generated this plan. We requested for some Taru cameras at specific locations where we were getting the majority of our complaints. We also requested VMS signs just to position them on 155 in Edgecombe, 177 in Broadway, 178 in Amsterdam, just to make sure that we relay the information that fireworks are illegal. And those are the things that we did on a local level. But obviously, if somebody was calling 911 or 311, we were responding to the location. But like most of these quality of offenses, when we do respond, you don't really see the problem anymore. So what we try to do is we try to do either directed patrols, but focusing on the locations that were giving me the most headaches.
Okay. And also, what about using shot spotter for fireworks?
Using what?
The shot spotter, whatever the technology y'all have to detect where gunshots are coming.
Yeah. So the thing with Shot Spotter is that it's so precise that it's able to distinguish between fireworks and actual shots fired. So we really didn't notice a considerable spike in shot fire related calls, but we did get many 911 calls from individuals that were confusing fireworks for actual gunshots.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna take Natalie's question and we're gonna turn it over to the 34th precinct. Natalie.
Hi, just a question about some of the options available responding to the noise complaints. I remember seeing social media posts from some of the precincts where stereo systems were confiscated from people who were persistently being called for noise complaints. Is that no longer an option?
It is an option, but if it's coming from a vehicle, it's very difficult to confiscate it because usually it's these radios that they utilize in their speakers. So we could do it, but like I said, it's just the potential of having perhaps an issue if we do remove it. We haven't really done that in the 33rd precinct. We kind of like taking a little hands-off approach and more like an educational approach when it comes to quality of life. What I do is if I'm getting multiple 311 or 911 calls at a particular location, I just have my guys do directed patrols on that particular location, focusing on the time where we're getting the majority of complaints. So yes, it's an option that is available. We try to avoid it because 99% of the time when you try to confiscate somebody's speakers, guess what? There's going to be some active resistance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Captain Bello. I was just speaking with my assistant chair, Danielle, about, the possibility of having a community forum or a forum on this particular issue on policing and how we can better police and serve the needs of the community, and also support the work that you all have to do in these cases and responding to some of our complaints. So that is forthcoming. We did talk about that today, and I would hope to work with you all to maybe create a joint agenda, possibly in August or early September once we're back in session. But that has been conversed, and I think is now is an even more important time to do that and come together. There was a option of, I think Manhattan Borough President was looking to have a forum also on policing. I think that's been delayed, but we would love to have their involvement also to help in facilitating this conversation to come up with additional options that maybe looking at what's working well in other precincts, so we can adopt some of those things in our area. So thank you very much. Lieutenant Joan from the 34th precinct, you want to give us your update?
Hello?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you for joining.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I've been listening to you guys for the longest, but I've been muted. Okay. So basically, as far as overall crimes in the 3-4, we pretty much if you look at the numbers, we've been down for the last 30 days, and the only issues I've seen is that we've gotten a lot of fireworks and a lot of people who call that pretty much think that the fireworks, like the captain mentioned earlier, that they were actual shootings, but when the officers responded to the scene, there were actually fireworks. We did get 5 people shot on the night of July 4th. So that pretty much happened the next day at 3 in the morning. 5 people got injured. One individual was actually shot in the head, and he's in critical condition right now. And as far as shooting is concerned, we had another one on June 20th. That one is still under investigation, and for the recent one, July 5th, everybody's still under investigation. So that these 2 cases are still open right now.
Do we have any apprehensions, or did you find the people involved?
No apprehensions. As far
Okay.
as I'm informed, we haven't had one yet.
Okay. All right. So I also sent over a few questions for you. Were you able to receive those questions and get any responses about the impact of those who've been released back to the community since we have had the COVID releases or bail reform releases? Do you have any data to share with us?
Yes, I do see you forwarded questions about the COVID release. I don't have that list.
Okay.
The other questions you had as far as the hanging job we had in Tryon Park. I did try to get update on that. So basically, our investigators been working on it. So far, it's still an open case, and I don't really have any further information on that.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
also, you did mention for commercial burglaries, the age of the people who are committing the burglaries. The last 30 days, I believe we had 2. So for the crime of burglary, usually when it happens, most of the time we don't have information about the perpetrator. So I was not able to get. Actually, we had 2, and I was not able to get the age group for the perpetrators.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
You're welcome.
Okay. I see we have let's see here. We have a few hands raised. I believe Sally was first. So we'll go to Sally, Nancy, and then Steve Simon.
I guess I find it a little surprising that you're saying that crimes are down in the 34, because that's certainly not how it appears to those of us who live in the 34. So I'd like to get more detail at some point on the breakdown of what you're seeing, what's being responded to, what's not being responded to. As I commented earlier, and you might have heard the comments because you were on the line, we didn't realize you were there. With regard to a lot of the quality of life complaints, they seem to be being closed out before there's almost as soon as they're filed by the 34. So I just want to get some more intelligence on that. But my burning question for both the 33rd
Yes.
and the 30, my burning question for both the 33rd and the 34th is where do I get data on the number of calls that have EDP calls that have come in northern Manhattan? For those who are on the line that don't know the acronym, it's emotionally disturbed persons. How are they being responded to? I would assume they've gone up relative to last year because we've lost inpatient psychiatric capacity. So there are people on the streets that otherwise might be being cared for, but aren't because we don't have the inpatient beds and inpatient services because of COVID. And so I just want to figure out how we can get a handle on who's now on the streets that actually needs to be in our hospitals. Because, when Captain Bello mentioned what are the alternatives, the clear alternative to dealing with people with mental illness is to have someone who is trained in mental health treatment responding to those calls instead of the 34th or the 33rd or any other police officer. Just as
Yeah, so Charlie Bello, you could put in a request with OMAP to find out how many EDPs we've responded to, and there's a considerable spike between this year and last year. If anything, if you want, you could email me, and I'll try to see if I could get that information for you. But normally, a FOIA request or a contact to OMAP will be able to give you that information.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go to Nancy Preston.
Yes, hi, thank you. So I have a few things here. First, I just want to stress the fact that the extremes of the noise and the fireworks go beyond quality of life. It really goes to public health and safety. You know, it's it looks lower when you say it's a quality of life issue. I think we have to acknowledge that. And then on the 3-4, there are a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Didn't mention about the fire from the fireworks, that the apartment was burnt out, and that was on video. So I'm wondering what's happening with that. There was also, you know, another big complaint and concern is about the Revel scooters. And there's also video of Revel scooters riding along Broadway, along Fort Tryon Park, shooting fireworks off of the scooters on July 4th. And you know, the last thing is on the area of Seaman, from Seaman, Dykeman, Broadway, when the restaurants close at 11 o'clock, it turns into a party central. And this has become very extreme for the neighbors. And one of our neighbors actually went out at 4 o'clock in the morning to confront them because he just couldn't take it anymore. He's got kids, 3 kids. He said he's never been so scared in his life. Their first reaction was join us for the party, but they did finally leave after, you know, about a half hour later. But people are beyond themselves. And the other issue is even while the restaurants are open, having what has happened is the double parking along Seaman from Cummings Street all the way to Riverside, along Broadway, has brought traffic to a standstill, has created no way for impasse for emergency vehicles, dangerous for pedestrians and vehicles. And, you know, I was wondering if you were aware of that and if there's any plans to address that. Thank you.
Well, Nancy, these are well, this is for the 34th, but I think, you know, just to give you my comment, we've talked about these issues before, and I do think that you know, it's several committees, right? I think there has to be a better, stronger partnerships with the businesses, as well as coordination with the transportation committee, because there's the issue of the parking and people being in compliance with the 8 feet barriers and the structures that they're building in front of their restaurants for the actual facility. So there's a lot of different things that you mentioned, and I think that it really involves a much larger conversation and coordinated effort with the licensing committee, business committee, as well as transportation.
And by the way, I did speak with transportation committee about this, and they said, well, it really belonged in this committee.
She's okay. Well, I think it's not just the public safety committee.
I know it crosses over many committees.
Yeah, it really does. I've been having a lot of
those couple of incidences regarding police, right? That's what those weren't mentioned. Incidents like that weren't mentioned, and so, you know, my question was, you know, is there a plan? Are they aware of some of these issues? And, you know, is there any plan to address them?
Yeah. So please, so Lieutenant Joan and Bello, could you please give us your response to that question?
Well, I know she mentioned yeah, you could go.
Sorry.
Yes. So you mentioned the Dykeman area from Broadway to I believe Seaman. So we do have a cluster of restaurants in that area, and I believe there was some kind of understanding between the community and the business board and the restaurants. So because of COVID-19 and the businesses were not making enough. And so they came with some kind of understanding, and it allowed them to have people eating outside. And that is something that's happening throughout the city. So basically, we actually drive around there to monitor the situation. We do see there are a lot of people there. As far as them being unruly, I have not noticed that. You said after the restaurants are closed after 11. I don't think they close that early. I think they stay a little bit longer after that. Usually I leave at around 11:30 p.m. But the thing is, if the restaurants are still functioning, you can expect these people to be out there.
Right. Well, that's part of the problem is that there was, there are guidelines, and although the guidelines are changing each day, it seems by the city, by Department of Transportation, there are guidelines that restaurants have to follow to serve alcohol on the streets and to serve food on the streets. And it seems like, based on what I've heard, that restaurants and businesses are not following them, and people are being sympathetic because they haven't made money in 3 months, which I think is very valid argument. We want to support our businesses, but we need to make sure that the businesses are not, also participating in the quality of life issues. And as Nancy mentioned, people complaining about the noise outside at 4 o'clock in the morning. Everyone wants to live in a neighborhood where they're able to get some sleep at minimum, right? So that's my concern. I've heard cases of people kind of brokering deals block by block, restaurant by restaurant, which I don't think is the right thing to do. So how we don't want you all to ignore complaints from people because you think that there's been some sort of community agreement. I don't think that is the case in what we're asking for. At least that's not what I would expect.
Well, if you mentioned that they're actually drinking alcohol in the street. I will actually try to pay more attention to that personally. But this is actually the first time I'm hearing from that. So basically, if that is the concern, I would definitely look at it.
Yeah, I know. I don't want the complaints to be ignored because of misinformation, right? They can drink outside. People can stay outside and congregate, but it's an issue of, one, social distancing still has to be somewhat managed, and just the general guidelines. The city has set out guidelines, although there's been a lot of misinformation and a lot of confusing information being sent out there by the city. We have to do our best to try to ensure that businesses are adhering to the best of their ability, the guidelines that are set forth, so they're being a good neighbor as well. All right, so
comment. Can I make one quick comment?
yes, please, one quick
And I
comment.
raised it at the traffic and transportation too. This is one area where quality of life is really not the issue, at least from my perspective. This is a breeding ground for COVID. You can't get through the streets. There were very clear guidelines given in terms of mask wearing, in terms of distancing, etc. But when they're operating during the daytime and during their hours is when I worry, because you can't walk through there. People aren't wearing the masks. It's terrifying to be there. And we are already a community at risk because of our high number of essential workers, because of the living conditions of our families. I'm really worried that we're the next hotspot when the virus returns. And New York as a city has already lost, we've already been removed from a state that that is on our way to controlling the virus. And when I see it, I'm terrified what's going on in terms of public health risk.
Thank you.
Yes, I understand your concern, but the thing is, with the issue of the COVID-19 and the people, since the city is allowing them to be outdoors to eat, it's pretty hard for them to actually follow all the guidelines because, first of all, they cannot be wearing the mask because they're eating, and the distancing part of it, I guess that's something they could try to work on.
Well,
but that kind of issue, I think, will have to be mentioned to the health department. I mean, we'll try our best, try to
I think
correct certain life issues. But the thing is, as far as that part, I think that's something that has to do with health department.
Well, I think a lot of it can be addressed by just ensuring that guidelines are being followed. And I guess what I'm hearing, and it's, again, these are things that don't have to necessarily be addressed by police, they have to be addressed by someone in the city. And what I'm hearing with every response I get as I try and address the public health risk is the only thing I should really do is just get the mayor on it and shut the city down again, because that's the only way that we're going to be saved from what is an out of control situation in terms of managing safe locations outside.
All right, so we're gonna go to Steve Simon next. His hand's been raised for a while. Steve Simon.
Let me first say that if I understood what the issue that Nancy was raising, it wasn't just, I mean, I think we know that the restaurants are allowed to serve people and they can serve alcohol outside at this point. But what's not acceptable is the fact that in a middle of a residential neighborhood where people need to get to sleep and just conduct their lives, that people are partying out in the middle of the street late at night into as late as 4 a.m. or something. I mean, I think that's the issue. It's not just a matter of social distancing, which of course they're not adhering to, but it's the fact that they're creating all this noise and keeping people up. And with respect to that, the fireworks issue is going to be is on the agenda of my committee, the Health and Environment Committee, next Thursday. And I'm sorry that I came in late and I didn't hear all of Captain Bellows' presentation. But do we have any statistics on perhaps the amount of fireworks that the 2 precincts were able to confiscate, or the numbers of people they might have summoned or even arrested because of illegal fireworks activity? Is there anything along those lines that might be available?
Yeah, from the 3-3 perspective, we don't. There was enforcement that was done within the confines of the 33rd precinct by outside agencies. I'm not sure how many apprehensions they made or how much confiscation when it comes to fireworks they got, but we didn't do any enforcement when it comes to summoning or arresting individuals. Because, like I said, even if we do make an arrest, that's a DAT-able offense. They'll be out within the next 3 or 4 hours, and by the time that we do respond to these 311 and 911 calls, the person that is setting off these fireworks is either no longer doing it. So,
well, I tell you, 3 or 4 hours might at least give us a chance to get some sleep. I mean, the fact that they might be out, that happens all the time. I mean, how do we demonstrate to people that in fact the police were addressing this problem?
Well, in regards to the 3-4, this year we had considerable decrease of enforcement based on last year. For example, last year we had a lot of officers that showed up, for example, on July 4th, in anticipation to bring down the activities with fireworks. And this year that was decreased tremendously. We only had 1 supervisor and 6 officers. So with just 6 officers, that was just not enough to actually control all the fireworks that was going on in the precinct. And the problem didn't really start on July 4th. It started weeks prior to that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we do our best. We go around. But the thing is that, like the captain said, lately we've been. It's not really like an excuse, but actually we're not allowed to use like the full strength of our servicemen to combat stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you just said. Could you repeat that? You're not allowed to do what?
As far as fireworks enforcement is concerned, we're not using the full strength of our servicemen to combat it due to the recent clash with police and the community. So,
yeah, I think what we did was in the 33rd precinct, we utilized some of our overtime details, and instead of placing them in locations where fireworks might be going off. We try to partner them up or marry them up with locations that we were taking actual violence. So that's the reason why I posted 3 out of my 4 overtime posts on 172 to 175 in Audubon, because 3 out of my 4 shootings occur there.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what you're asking is if we should have arrested individuals that were setting off fireworks, because like I said, even if we was to make an apprehension for a firework related offense, that's a DATable offense according to bail reforms. He would have been out within the next hour or 2. So I'm not sure exactly what that would have accomplished when you have 15 to 20 people at a particular location setting off fireworks, unless what's being requested is to arrest 15, 20 people from one particular, I guess, block.
Well, I don't know, at least confiscate their fireworks. I mean, how else?
There were confiscations that were made. There was a unit that was created by the mayor's office in conjunction with New York City Police Department that were getting the fireworks that were being transported or imported into the New York City. But when it comes to these fireworks, they don't have them out in the open. 99% of the time, they have it inside their vehicles. So like I said, what we did was we married the locations where we're getting the high volume of fireworks call with the location we were taking the majority of our violence, because in the 33rd precinct, we tend to prioritize violence over quality of life.
Can you just detail what you were allowed to do? You're saying you couldn't use a full force. What were you allowed to do?
You're referring to the 3-4 or 3-3?
Oh,
Lieutenant John made a comment about not being able to use full force, and that was Sally's follow-up question.
yeah. What were you?
Basically what I meant was before, the officers will actually will be more proactive and actually looking for individuals who are setting off fireworks. But lately, they've been taking hands back with this kind of enforcement because of situations that they don't want to jeopardize a career, or they don't want to risk certain backlash from the community. That's what I meant by that.
And where did that directive come from?
It's not a directive. It's just probably human nature. So they see all the news that's going on and they reacting to it.
Okay, great. I'm looking at the. Are we all still there? It got really silent for a second.
I think we're in shock.
Yeah, okay. We are going to. I'm going to move on. Natalie,
Hand up.
I see. Natalie, is your question for a particular precinct?
It is indirectly to the comments made by the precinct and the issues raised by Nancy. I just kind of wanted to put out there that I realize that what's going on with the open dining and open streets, and then a hybrid of open dining and open streets that's being rolled out in some areas, and the levels of self-certification and not self-certification that are happening, it's a bit of a legal rock, paper, scissors, right? And the community is often getting caught in the middle of it. I just wanted to reiterate that for right now, at all the open restaurants, they do have to shut down by 11. And our understanding from the Department of Transportation, which is handling the rollout of these street programs and sidewalk programs, is that the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement is supposed to have a major role in following up this rollout and this implementation and troubleshooting the problem. So I'm going to strongly urge, we will get a contact for you, that someone from the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement needs to be at your public safety meetings, if not your full board meetings.
That would be greatly appreciated. I imagine that we are going to continue to meet in the month of August, although we don't necessarily have to meet in August. We didn't meet. We're going to continue to meet. So we'll have another meeting in August, and I would love to have their participation to give us help us improve our understanding of what is reality and what's happening on the ground. All right, so I'm going to take Aisha's question, and we're going to move forward with the agenda. Aisha.
My question is because I'm not sure how long we have the captains for. My question is in relation to the young man who was found hanging in Fort Tryon Park. I'm a member of the Parks Committee, and in one of our last reports, we learned that from the precinct that pretty much the determination was that that there was really no cause for alarm in regard to this story. Not alarm, not no cause for alarm in response to what happened. Obviously, this is something that is a sad situation that none of us would want to occur, but that there was no foul play that we knew of, and that came from the family and the precinct. Yet, not long after that, I learned that there were protests happening in front of the precinct. I followed that path to some of the organizers to find that they had connections to the family. And then subsequently, our assemblywoman issued a statement, and a letter was sent out, I believe, from both Carmen de la Rosa as well as our Congressman Espaillat, to the Attorney General asking for a thorough investigation to be done in that case. So my question is, how was there such a disconnect? How was this report given to the community board that completely differs with the ask that is now being made by our elected officials? And what is, I think we heard that we don't really have status, but what is the status of what has been sent to the Attorney General's office, and where are those conversations?
How did they know?
Yeah, Charlie Bello, I believe this incident happened in the 3-4. I have some general knowledge in regards to it, but clearly I don't really look into the cases unless it's linked or connected to a 3-3 case. So maybe the 3-4 might be able to speak on it.
Yes, 3-4 Lieutenant. So basically, that case, I mentioned that case earlier, and I did mention that for now, it's under investigation, and I believe the communities, they want more with the case, but for now, that's what I'm getting from it, is that it's under investigation. The little information I know is that the individual had a history of emotionally disturbed, and it was already discussed with the family, and basically that's the only information I have. But as far as details of what's going on, we're not aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, so I think those are all the questions we have for our precinct captains. Thank you both for joining us. I know that you are busy and there's a lot going on. I do appreciate, all the work that you're doing, in between our meetings, and we look forward to hearing you again next month, and hopefully seeing each other soon. So
Thank you, Curtis.
No problem at all. Okay. So the other item I had on the agenda, which was our last item, was to get an update on the from the fire department, but they are not here.
Oh.
Is there a representative on the line from the fire department? All right, so since we have Lieutenant John still on the line, do you have any updates to give us on the fire incident that happened over the weekend?
For that incident, I will have to look for more info. For now, I don't have information on that.
Okay, could you send over a response by email to me so I can add that to the minutes and
Sure.
update the full committee? Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so I think we've reached a point. We have our updates from our precinct captains. It was a very short agenda this month. I did speak.
Curtis, this is Maria Luna. May I say something before they leave?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to tell everyone that is here, listening on YouTube and everything else, that we appreciate the services that are provided by the officers. We may not be happy with the incidents about the fireworks and the noise, especially 164th Street and Riverside. This has been going on for about more than 25 years. We know the characters that are making that, the noises. There are local people, they live within the buildings surrounding the area of Riverside, Fort Washington, 164, and the neighbors should also take some action, speak to these people who are abusing their rights of the people that live on those areas. But I would like to say to the two captains, Bello and the 34th, I didn't hear his name, the services that are provided by the officers, helping out the community-based organizations that are providing food for the people in our communities. They are doing that on their own time. They are not getting overtime to help out, to carry bags of food, to help direct people and keep the order on the deliveries and also on the lines that forms where the food is distributed. So I would like to, as a president of the council of the 3-3, I am very happy to have NCOs volunteer to help us out with that. I'm sure that ARC, Riverstone, Claus can attest that the officers comes early and they give their all to help the people in our community. It's not just saving life for, for noise makings and things like that, but we also have to acknowledge that they are providing a service to our community. And I thank you on behalf of the community to the officers that are doing this service. This is the only thing that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you.
May I just say that there are 4 people, attendees, that have had their hands raised, and I think that they want to speak with the.
Okay, let me just look at the list. All right, you have a question for the officers that have not? Yes, I'm sorry, I'm running the meeting and also have to look at the attendee list at the same time. So we will go with a few questions from our we have 3 questions from our attendee list. Bernard Grotman. Is this the question for the 3-3 or the 3-4?
It's 3-3.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing on 161st Street was not a resident. It was somebody who doesn't live in the area. It was in front of a business, and he has a giant speaker in his car, which is not part of the system. That could easily be confiscated because it was hooked up on the street actually, but being run off the car. And it was so loud that, I mean, I'm telling you that it was shaking stuff in my apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's what was going on. And that guy has been there. He's not there now. It's been absolutely quiet. I don't know what happened, but suddenly the last 3 days, like kind of like the suburbs around here. But before that, every weekend it was going on until late at night. So I'm not sure if it was the same guy all the time, but he's been there several times. And that was the plate number that I provided you with. And so it's beyond quality of life, it's health. I mean, to have that kind of loud music going on, and I'm stuck in my apartment. We have the pandemic going on, there's no place to go. I couldn't even go out to a bar and hang out to get through it, Not that I would go to a bar, but And, that's all I got to say. I wanted to point out that it was not a resident. It was somebody in the street with a car, blasting music. I'm a musician, so I know how loud this thing was. It was loud like a concert sound system out in the street till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you very much for your comment. Lori Snyder is next on the list.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you. This is my first meeting, so I'm very excited to be here. I'm a resident on Indian Road, and the Revel bikes, I know I could probably company. I'm 63 years old and I'm being treated for Lyme disease. And I was walking on my street just to get some air, and a Revel bike was coming at me. No masks, no helmets, no nothing, on the sidewalk on Indian Road. And the two kids on it, they were not coming after me. And they're screaming with no mask on, sorry. And then the double and triple parked cars, which is forever, but it's just gotten to me because it looks like there's no pandemic. Blocking the driveway to my building is an ongoing problem. And it seems like, we've been here like 13 years or so. And it's not all about me or 25 Indian Road. It's just about another quality of life. But the Revel bikes on the sidewalk, I'm a phys ed teacher. I can jump out of the way. I have good reflexes. But if I was 63 and not quick moving, I could have gotten hit. And I'm speaking on behalf of other people, not just myself.
Okay.
So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm very, very happy that I joined tonight. I'd like to get more involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to give, yeah, you want to go ahead and your response to that briefly?
Yes, for the Revel bikes, we do notice this is something that just happened suddenly, because this is like a new phenomenon, and it does create a lot of issues with the community, because you have these guys riding these bikes all over, and a lot of times they're not following traffic rules, and they're driving too fast. And we do realize that it's a problem, and especially they're riding on the sidewalk, like you mentioned. That is something we'll definitely take a look at.
Yeah. So just yeah, thank you for that question or comment. One of the things that I've been looking at, and hoping to coordinate with another committee, perhaps on this business committee, because it is a problem that I see with their business model in general. I believe that anyone can get a Revel. There's no verification process, even if they have to insert their license. I'm not sure what the process is. I've never used one, but it seems like they're highly accessible, and there's no real screening process for who can get them. So the eyewitness accident that occurred this past weekend in my neighborhood, and the person who knocked over someone, hit someone on the street, they picked up the Revel and they rode off. And then one of the bystanders tried to contact the company, and the company was not responsive. It was impossible to reach someone to say it's a GPS tracking. They could have easily tracked their bike, but they were not able to be. They didn't answer the phone. So I think there's some work to be done, not only as it pertains to how we interact with users, on the people who are using these bikes on the streets, but also with the company itself, and to help them to understand what our needs are, and some of the boundaries that they need to place. They should not be driven in the park, so maybe wait for them to turn off. Should maybe track them if they're in the park, and I don't know, but there's a lot to be done with the Revel. We have been receiving a lot of complaints about Revel. It's going to be an ongoing topic. We can't solve it now, but it's highly on my list, and I'm hoping to coordinate with others as well. So we have two more community, Casey Bronson, followed by Jennifer Bristol.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I'm having a concern. Hope everyone is having a great summer so far. But I've been walking down the streets, and these outdoor dining, I'm pretty sure that there needs rules and regulations in order to have permission for these outdoor dining, but they constructing all these outdoor dining, covering the parking lot, parking streets. Also, pedestrians can't even walk through these dining. I understand the concern, but I'm trying to see who should I speak to, and is anyone being addressed to this concern? Because there's rules and regulations to have permission to actually creating these outdoor dining for these businesses around the neighborhood.
So the answer is yes, there are rules and regulations, and it's under the Department of Transportation. So it is, in fact, a partnership with the Transportation Committee. I mean, every public safety is now starting to overlap with literally every committee. But it is a Transportation Committee because their transportation issue, they're the ones who are who are doing the inspections. They've set the guidelines. Restaurants are supposed to build their structures no wider than the front, I guess, area of their restaurant, and they have, like, I believe, one, and whatever that width is, they have that same sort of area in front of their restaurant in the car space. So they are able to take up a car space, and they're not supposed to have seating on the street that is closest to the on the sidewalk that's closest to the street side. It's supposed to be closer to the door or the entry point of their restaurants. The visuals that Department of Transportation provided to restaurants is really clear. There are some people, unfortunately, that are not following them, but that concern would have to go to Department of Transportation. They can send out their inspectors to do follow-up. So you can make file a 311 complaint for that particular issue.
Do you know an email I could send to what's the person's name, the chairman of traffic and transportation?
No, I think Debbie Babian is the chair of Transportation Committee, but I think you can probably also make it, if you see a particular restaurant that's not following the guidelines that's on the DOT's website, you can call 311 and they can send an inspector to come out. The inspectors, they did start it. I was out this weekend literally, and one of the restaurants, they came to they're starting from the south and working their way up north to check to ensure that everyone's following all their constructions is in compliance. So it is happening. I did witness it myself while having a cup of coffee, or maybe a beer, but it is happening. So
okay, great.
You can't follow.
Okay, thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Okay, so next we have Jennifer Bristol.
Jennifer, you need to unmute.
Sorry. All right, thanks. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I just want to second what Nancy and the gentleman who lives in the 160s said, that this has gone way beyond equality of life, and it's really insulting to the community to keep saying that. The police officers say it. The politicians have said it to me when I've called to ask for help. I live on a tiny block. I live on Dongan. We have 3 buildings on each side, and I had fireworks for a month, and no one came to help us. I cannot tell you, it took my body 3 days to believe that there are no fireworks outside my window. My body is finally not in a state of terror. And I don't say this lightly because I've lived here for 20 something years. I've dealt with noise. I told friends I was under siege. So it's really, everyone has to be on the same page that this is a public health issue. This is not just a noise issue. It's a danger issue. And when the police say they don't want to deal with it, they are illegal bombs. They are explosives. This is not sparklers. And it's really insulting to the community that you see it as not something to take care of, because it is a danger, as we found out at Nagel and Dykeman. I also want to, you mentioned briefly about the rebels. While I was listening to the conversation for the first hour, I was in Fort Tryon. I saw 2 scooters in Fort Tryon. There's not even bikes allowed in Fort Tryon, racing along up the hill. And at the same time on Dongan Place, if you want to give out tickets or catch the rebels, they're on Dongan Place because they ride the opposite way. They come out onto Broadway. So I don't know if they hang out at the bodega. I don't know if they live on that block, but I have pictures because I was beyond myself. They were coming out across the light, coming out of Dongan. And this meeting has been really I've never attended one of these meetings. I've attended other meetings for the community board, mostly licensing and the general meetings. This has been the most disappointing waste of my time. All I've heard from everyone from the police, as everyone else was shocked when there was silence, the police are very good at telling us what our problems are. Yes, we have rebels all over the neighborhood. It's not new, it's been going on for a month. I've been reporting it to Parks because that's where it started, and that's where I was affected and almost hit like 5 or 7 times. But this meeting, I mean, you guys don't even know the details of the fire. That was days ago. I mean, I'm just blown away by this meeting, and either the community.
Okay. You're blown away about the meeting or responses from individuals in the meeting?
Responses that we're getting no information here. I mean, the police don't even know the numbers of any of the crimes, or every time a board member or a committee member asked them for information, they just gave us no answers. And they were just very blasé about it, and other things that I was just blown away that was said. But I really, hope that the representatives from the precincts come back in August when you have a meeting with information, because I didn't learn much from here except for a lot of people complaining about fireworks.
Okay.
So that's
Yes.
all I have
Well,
to say. Thank you very much for dedicating your time, because it's a
no
hard
problem,
issue.
Jennifer. And Jennifer, you can, I do receive updates and I do follow up to our precincts with additional questions. You email me and I'll share, any other additional data points that we receive on these matters. My email address is cdyoung23@gmail.com. I want to make sure that you,
Thank
we do,
you.
because
I appreciate that.
I do check the ComStats and other data sources, and I can share some of that information with you just so you know that
Perfect.
there are
Thank you.
things. Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, alrighty. So we have let's see, 2 more community questions, and we'll move on from there. Claudia.
Go unmute. Hi,
There we go.
thank you so much for taking my question and having the meeting. I had a question specifically about recording incidents and whether that would be helpful, because to circle back to the question of how do we want to be policed? How can we avoid confrontation during policing? How can we nonetheless get crimes and violations? How can we get those addressed? And I was wondering how video or camera footage, how that could play into things. I remember that there was one time outside my apartment where there was a car standing for over 6 hours just blasting the music. And I'm also a music teacher. I was trying to teach online from home and I couldn't hear my students. And so the 311 complaints were just getting closed out. I'm up in the 34th area, but I did have the license plate number. I could take a video of it. I could take a video of the noise. I'm sure I could provide the decibel level. And so I'm wondering if we have information, if we're talking about the Revel scooters and there's, if somebody loses their ability to take the Revel scooter based on misuse of the Revel scooter, well, how is there a way to translate that into misuse of the car stereo system, identification by license plate, and somehow coming at enforcement that way, rather than the confrontations that could come up if police did try to step in and confiscate the stereos. Is there a roundabout way of doing it? Is there something that we can do as residents to provide video footage? And where would we send the video footage if we have it?
That is certainly a question for Captain Bello.
Yeah, so Charlie Bello, I'm actually still here. So violations have to be observed by the officer in order for them to actually take enforcement. So the recordings, most of these 911 or 311 complaints, when it comes to noise, they tend to be from anonymous sources. So like I said, if we do respond, normally they'll lower it. Once we leave, they turn it back on. If there is a particular individual, particular auto that's giving you a constant issue, my telephone number is actually public. If you want to reach out to Curtis, he could provide you, my contact number, and I'll make sure that my NCOs follow up on that. So, but in terms of actual video recording, when it comes to violation, it has to be observed by the officer himself in order for him to take some sort of enforcement in regards to it. Now, even if we do have video footage, it comes, the question becomes if the district attorney's office is actually going to either prosecute or the criminal court system is going to prosecute that violation or that summonable offense. So that's another question that needs to be asked or needs to be addressed. So we could issue the summons and we could make the apprehension. The follow-up question is going to be if that case is actually going to be prosecutable in court.
All right, thank you very much. Our final comment or question from the community, Leanna R. I'm sorry, are you there, Laura?
Yeah, sorry. Hi. I always get so panicked when I see I unmute myself. So I did want to just ask for, mentioned it in the Q&A, but I don't know if I've been listening really intently. So I don't know if I've just been listening too intently and I missed it. But I did want to talk about the 34th precinct. So they were throwing fireworks, and there's been people, I mean, obviously fireworks is like the big issue, but there have been people who have come in and parked their car on the sidewalk right in front of me in order to blast their music and sit next to their car. And I filed multiple 311 complaints, which were closed out within 2 minutes. And then I called the precinct and nobody picked up. So in cases like this, I don't know what else we can do because it's been kind of like ongoing. And so like, what is there anything, another number? I've even like reached out to an NCO and they basically just told me like, well, we're doing everything we can. And like, we do answer 311 calls, but I don't know if I've just been blacklisted, but every time I do a 311 complaint, it literally gets closed out within, if it reaches 10 minutes, that's like a miracle. So I just don't know what else we can do then. I understand that the police, you know, now is a really busy time, especially for noise, and that they may be like overburdened. But if it's something like, you know, we are seeing people literally parking their car on sidewalks, and there's like multiple of them doing this, and there's other offenses, and we, you know, immediate action would be best, obviously, if there's not like violent crimes going on, but as like quickly as possible, action being taken so that people can be caught. Like what else can we do if 311 complaints getting closed out within 2 minutes? That's my question. Thank you.
All right, Lieutenant Joan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. You mentioned you said there's a car that was parked on the sidewalk. What was the location for that?
Well, it's 631 Academy Street.
That was by Academy.
Excuse me?
You said by Academy Street. Academy and what?
Vermilia.
Okay. So basically, for the parking situation, no one is supposed to be parking on the sidewalk. I have not personally observed that, but the thing is, if that is happening and you're calling the precinct, that should have been rectified and somebody should have been there. So basically, I will look at that. And do you know what time that happened?
Yeah, it was like around 1:30 a.m.
1:30 a.m.
Yeah, they
Okay,
came
so
pretty late.
I put that into perspective, but that shouldn't be happening. Somebody parking their car on the sidewalk, and I will definitely pass that information to the DETOR personnel that's involved with that.
So so we're following up and people feel like they're being heard. Leanna, could you email me and I can we can follow up directly to Lieutenant Jean to ensure that he's providing you with the response that you are requesting. My email address, once again, is cdyoung23@gmail.com. So if you email me, I'll make sure that we start an email so follow-up is made.
Thank you.
Does that work?
Yeah,
Okay.
Curtis,
Yes.
someone with the phone number that ends in 525 has been in the meeting the whole time but didn't understand how to raise the hand. And has a question.
Okay. All right, that'll be our, yes, okay. Go for it.
Oh, hi. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. I don't want to kind of run down what everybody else was saying. There's two issues that I have in this community, especially on Riverside, Henshaw. Of course, you got Dyckman and all that stuff. I want to know why isn't that we don't have resources to give out tickets. I think a lot of times when you give out tickets, people will deter to not park or double park in these communities, and especially like Nancy said, on Seaman Avenue is horrible. You can't come up and down that street. People double park to pick up their food, which I think also these restaurants should have security. That should be something that should have been mandated when they had all this, the dining outdoors. I understand they have to make money, But I think if they also get security to move along the people and to have somebody double park to pick up food while people are coming up and down this, on Seaman Avenue, that's ridiculous. And the biggest offense really around here is double park. You got Henshaw, you got Cloister Grill, who I don't know what they do in there. I mean, honestly, I don't even think they sell food. I mean, I don't know who buys that stuff, but the owners double park, eat food in the streets. This is all they do all day. So I'm assuming, I don't know where you guys, I mean, they said people give out tickets, but I never see them. I think that's a big problem. I think if we put more people out there, if the city wants to make money, you can make a whole bunch of money giving out tickets. I mean, I know you guys, I know you guys' hands are tied. I know there's a lot of issues. I really thank you guys for being out here. I'm not anti-police. I'm not anti-defunding. I think you guys need to be out here. I think you guys need to do your job, which you guys do. But you can give out tickets. That's what we need here. And we don't have it. Because I know the city wants to make money. They don't care what people feel without masks or no masks. You know, they don't care. I stay away from that corner. But I just feel that double parking, and they park anywhere in front of hydrants, double park to talk to their El Pano. They go hang out. They drop food on the floor. You know, all those good things happen. But it happens always here, and I don't understand. What can we do? What can you help us do about that? And one more thing. The person that I emailed to about this issue, which is our area, what do you call them? NICO or something like that? The person that mandates this area.
Yeah, the neighborhood officer.
I sent her a long email. She never responded. And not only she not responded to me, she doesn't respond to anybody. And what's the problem with that? She doesn't talk to anyone. We don't have her phone number. She doesn't call. She doesn't let us know what's going on. And I sent her an email. No response.
Okay, so this is the 34th precinct.
That's the 34th precinct, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's the 34th precinct. So basically, there's, I believe that's NCO David.
No, it's a woman. It's a woman.
Yeah, but the area is called David.
That's,
okay.
David. So they're the ones supposed to be responding to you. So you
but she never does.
Answer.
But she not knowing. She doesn't know any to respond. She doesn't respond to me. She doesn't respond to anybody. Is she mad at us, or she doesn't want to talk to us? I'm not really sure.
Wait 1 second. Wait a minute. No, wait 1 second. No, wait 1 second here. Wait a second. All right. So Lucinda John, could you respond to her her comment about the ticketing first?
Right.
Well, for the ticketing, this precinct has an issue with double parking. The officers actually do go out there and they try to enforce, but it's been a problem for so long. And I think like something with the community, they feel that they can park anywhere they want. So it's just like, it's a cultural thing that we have to combat. And like you said, we can do a lot more with that. And I also believe that's something we can improve on, but it's just been in the community for so long, and just people feel entitled that they can park everywhere.
Yeah, but is that acceptable? Because they can do it for so long. That's something that's not acceptable. I've seen people double park their car and leave it there for an hour and come back.
Yeah, Charlie Bello, I mean, obviously I can't speak for the 3-4, but in the 3-3, sometimes what we do is if we have a problematic block that has double parking issues, what I'll do is I'll have the traffic enforcement agents give special attention to that particular area. So perhaps it's something that might be, that the 3-4 could take a look at. Just have the traffic agent focus along with the NCOs and maybe direct the patrols just to give a little extra enforcement.
How many parking tickets have been written in the 34th precinct.
All right, so I just want to make sure we're maintaining order here. So
And then my second question is as to why she has never emailed back to the people. She hasn't emailed back anybody in questions of the same question that I just asked you tonight. I didn't get any answer back from them. Is she mad at us or?
I mean, I cannot give you an answer. I will contact a supervisor and they will reach out to you. I mean, they will reach out to Curtis and the information to you.
Yeah, and I'll add that to my list of things to follow up on for the 34th, because I do feel like we need a little bit more attention to detail from the 34th precinct. I would love to hear.
When Candace was here, Candace would.
I'm sorry, we can't have people speaking out of order. Please, I was making a statement.
Yeah,
I
have an answer to that. The NCO, so the NCOs for our sector, the same sector, was changed, and her name is Amanda Di Francesco, and she was not responding to me either. And I actually got an email from her yesterday saying she hadn't responded because her partner was out, and so they haven't been working and they were backed up. And she said she would hope to meet with us sometime next week.
Okay.
So I could finally get a response, and that was just yesterday.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. All right, so we're gonna come back to the committee. We are finished with our comments from the public. I don't see any additional hands raised, but I do see a few more hands raised from the committee. Are these questions for new questions that you're posing as a byproduct of what we've discussed already, or these are new issues? Sally Fisher.
I have one new issue, which is in terms of communication with the community and coming up with non-enforcement escalation situations, ways to respond to situations. One good way is the precinct community council. So what are the plans to reinstitute those? Because the community is calling for them, including civilian members of the precinct community council.
Precinct councils, when are we going to resume these? Is there a plan in place to resume the precinct council meetings, Maria or Captain Bello?
We just have a new chief appointed to the community councils. I met with him last week. We are trying to organize and to follow up on meetings as soon, because we still cannot meet in person. Until that is clear from downtown, we cannot meet. Now, the issue about Zooming is that not everyone has access to internet or to an iPad and things like that. So it's going to be limited to some people, not the majority of the community. We are urging people to attend once we go back to having person-to-person meetings, to come up and attend those meetings. I hear some of the complaints about, everybody since the beginning of this, this meeting. And I'm wondering how often do they attend the police council meetings? On the 3-4, they meet the last Wednesday of the month. On the 3-3, we meet the last Thursday of the month. These are open meetings. We deal with every issue. We invite everybody. And one of the things that I will urge to do is all of you to get to know those NCO, which is the neighborhood community officers. I know some of you have met them. You have their card. They are, I'm surprised that some people say that they don't get back to them, because the one that I know are, always willing and able to meet with everybody in the community. And we have in each prison, the 3 and the 4, in all of them, citywide, have 4 sectors A, B, C, and D, and they are open to meet with everyone. So I think that we need to also understand that this is a community that we need to be engaged. When I hear people saying about the music, sometimes when I go outside and I hear someone sitting on a car with a loud, music, and I said, could you do me a favor? Could you just lower a little? There may be someone that is ill, and they politely say, thank you, I will do it. It's when we are so arrogant that we demand from some people to behave when they are misbehaving. And I think that we, as a society, we need to be, I mean, there are people who will do it regardless of what we say. But I think that we as a community have also a responsibility to be engaged and to speak to our young people that this is not the way to live in a residential community, which is what we have Washington Heights, Inwood, and So that's my take on that. I
Thank you very
also
much.
would like to just a little take advantage of the opportunity. Tomorrow I will be distributing face masks free to everyone that needs it. I'm going to be walking from 155th Street as far as my legs will give. So from 12 to 3 p.m. on the afternoon.
Okay,
Everybody
thank you very
will
much.
get a free mask.
All right, thank you very much, Maria. We have Natalie, followed by Aisha.
Porque no sé cómo fue yo.
Gesundheit, Maria. I just wanted to just underline because I think that a lot of people are veterans of the 311 call loop and some are not. But I want to remind people that it is always the best practice to make your 311 complaint, keep a record of that reference number, and whether or not it is marked closed by that system. If there is something persistent, contact District Manager Ebenezer Smith or my office so that we can take all of those numbers and that pattern and escalate it to those agencies that are responsible. And that, and I know that some people might say, I did that and it didn't work either and the problem came back. I think that establishing that pattern rather than having these isolated calls is the best way to work it. And as always, Maria, my absolute admiration, respect, and gratitude for all the work that you are doing with the community. You put the rest of us to shame.
Thank you very much. Okay, Aisha.
I just wanted to speak on two things. One is in regards to the Revel bikes. On their website, it shows that they go a maximum of 30 miles per hour. But Vision Zero, we have it capped at 25. I don't know if that's something that can be changed, but maybe that's something that we may want to see if it's possible. Since they're mostly on the street, they don't cross bridges. The other issue is I see a lot of people riding them without helmets, so that's also a safety issue. But there's a mechanism that triggers the case for the helmet to be opened. And maybe there's a way to detect that the helmet is in use or not, so that we could have maybe an increase of people using the helmets. So basically,
That would be something to do with the company, right? Direct, because we monitor them. Right?
Yeah. Now the other thing is in regards to fireworks. I don't really observe July 4th because I don't feel that it's my independence. However, I did work in New Jersey last year for the Wendy's Corporation, where it was a part of a July 4th celebration. And it was really one of the most amazing things that I've seen. And it's like the entire town comes to this one location in order to witness this on an annual basis. So yes, I understand that fireworks are illegal, but might it be possible that we could have a celebration in our parks that would bring the community in and give them the value that they're looking for in regards to the pomp and circumstance, which is supposed to be, the nation's celebration, so that maybe we reduce some of the impact on the streets of people wanting to explode fireworks on their own. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you. All right, Superintendent. Oh, wait, his hand is no longer raised. All right, so I think all the hands are lowered. Thank you.
It's still raised. Hello?
It's still raised? Yeah, there you are. Okay. You have the final word, Superintendent.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I like to be involved in the meetings. We are considered a facility part of the community. We are located on between 163rd and 164th Streets in the 3-3 precinct. We were impacted by the pandemic like most of the community. Fortunately, none of the population was exposed or tested positive for the virus. So that was a positive. But because of the virus, we've had to change a little bit of our present makeup. So we're supposed to be a residential treatment facility along with a work release component for the women. We're going to temporarily, for the short term, be a reentry facility for individuals due to be released to the community within 90 days. In our prior format, we were a treatment facility for parolees with drug issues, and it was a 45-day turnaround. They would get intensive treatment and go back to the community. But right now, parole is still not taking in-person reports at the local community supervision offices. So you don't have the opportunity to offer or mandate drug treatment for individuals. So we're going to be, like I said, getting individuals that are returning to the New York City area, well, New York City, Long Island, and Westchester area with less than 90 days to go in their sentence. We are providing services for them, and we will be doing discharge planning for them. Also on 164th Street, we are, well, the whole facility, we're in the midst of doing a fence project. So there, that has taken away some of the sidewalk availability because we had to build a outer perimeter security fence while we take down the actual fence, and then they're going to be rebuilding a new fence. So that should be going on until December, just in case. We had some members of the community, you know, come up and ask us what was going on. So everything else is stable, and we do understand the issues that are being raised. And like I said, we do consider ourselves a part of the community, but we also do recognize that this is a very tough job for all law enforcement professionals, and they do rely on the support of the community, and it's got to be a two-way street. So I'm fully on board with what the Public Safety Committee meeting represents as an opportunity for a voice and a way to work hand in hand with public servants that are here to protect and serve the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your hard work and a dedication. I will most certainly make sure that you are higher up on the agenda. I never know when you're here, Mr. Miller, and it always towards the end. So I promise next time I'm going to have you up there with after we do our presentation in the beginning of the agenda.
No problem.
With that being said, I would like to call this meeting to adjournment. I thank you all for joining us this evening. We tackled a lot of issues. There's a lot of follow-up to be had. And like I said before, if you have any additional questions, you can always email me, and I can serve as a liaison to make sure those questions are answered. My direct email address is cdyoung23@gmail.com. You can also reach me there first. I won't give out my phone number publicly, but you can email me and you can get your questions answered. So thank you all for joining us this evening, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you,
Good night.
Curtis.
Thank you,
Thank you.
for everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.
Be well, everyone.
Bye.